Welcome back. Conversation is continuing, and Efferson Marilo, you say simple. Accept the media did a shoddy job in ensuring the president results, but you can redeem yourselves in the dispute process. And this is something else. Media should hunt down and expose a policeman who clobbered a 6-month baby. He should be fired and prosecuted. Nelson, we're getting to this in a bit, but first, I just want a final word on the numbers.
Yeah, may I say one thing? I mean, if you guys remember last year, when S.K. Macharia went to the Senate. And he said that in all the elections since '92, he's had people right down at the level of the polling station, and that he's had all the figures for that. And from there, he could tell us that in all the elections about the 2002 one, that the guy who was announced president was not the one who had the most votes.
Yes, your argument being this
my point is that the capacity exists, you know, and I think that we don't want to be learning in 2027 that the 2017 election we announced the wrong guy. You know, the whole point is to know it now when it matters now, and that's why we want the media to run an independent tally so that it can be a check. Yeah. Against the numbers that the IEBC at the national level gives. Don't forget, this tally is based on the official IEBC numbers. The official IEBC numbers are only at the polling station and at the constituency tallying center. That's where they come from. If you use those, you can actually call the election.
Well, someone might say that the National Tallying Center used those.
Well, the National Tallying Center said it used those.
So you don't believe the numbers? Hold on, Charles, what was your position in using numbers for elections? As we were getting into the elections, what was modus operandi?
We had people in various places. Okay. We did not have people in every polling station.
Yes.
And we were getting numbers from them. But apparently at some point you realize that IBC is faster than you. They have numbers in more places. So in the end, you find that, you know, even waiting for your people to relay as slowly as they were doing, you know, you are getting overtaken.
Considering they had the budget.
So eventually then you just go with the IEBC numbers. But we've then been doing analysis, and I think this issue of numbers has to continue even way beyond any announcement and swearing in. Today, for example, somebody did point out, and we began to check, that in Nairobi, there were 60,000 more people who voted for the president than for governor. Why is there a discrepancy? And in Kiambu, there are 30,000 more. And somebody said, maybe, you know, I just pick the president, that's what I'm interested in, and I feel it, but I don't vote for the other. But how likely is it that you would go into the election, vote for a president and not vote for a governor? So, of course, now, if there is that discrepancy, then actually it requires whether or not the results have been announced or not, to then go back and verify.
So the story of the numbers doesn't stop here. We have to continue following it up.
Stop. And I can tell you it is early days. I have covered the US elections. By the time they announced the winner, the night of the elections,
various stations or the official?
And it is not the Achebukati announcing. It is the media calling it. You don't even know who the Achebukati is. Yeah. By the time the president is being sworn in, is when they actually completing the compilation of numbers. It is a long process.
And that's why we saw the popular vote going up even after, and people were confused for Hillary Clinton.
And they don't have a Chebukati because they run their election. It's basically 50 separate elections.
Right.
And then
Dennis, as we talk about,
it should have been 290 separate elections. That's how we should have done it, instead of rushing to the national center and waiting for our results there.
All right.
That's my point.
The thing is this. Nobody rushed to the national center to wait for results there.
Well, it seems that.
No, listen. Everybody was trying to get results from the polling stations, from the constituencies, tallying centers. But the numbers, they were being relayed directly to the national tallying center and displayed on the portal. As simple as that. We have no reason to doubt that they're the same ones.
Well, they say that we would have taken it from the constituency level.
Dennis, that verification process now is what went on. No, don't forget something. We went to court on something called demanding that we don't want manual backup. At the end of the day, we had to resort to manual backup to do the verification because we demanded that verification.
Right.
And we had to wait for quite a while for them to do everything manually.
Right. As we appreciate the process of tallying, Dennis, and as Mashari Gaito says, at least for the Nation Media team, the numbers are still being put together in terms of those who are on the ground. From your tallying centers, at least the one that we saw in Runda, that's still going on, right? Or is it a complete process?
That's going on.
So you appreciate why this is also a continuous process, even from the media side.
But Mark, there is a difference between political institutions and the media. And that's the point I'm emphasizing, that the media don't seem, the Kenyan media don't seem to understand the great role that the society assigns them. Their expectation of the country is that the media will have the information when they need it. The reason, and we go back to the beginning, you talked about how Orengo, how Raila Odinga fought for media freedom. The reason people fight for media freedom is that they can be arbiters, they can be relied on to provide information that other institutions are not able to provide. When it comes to a stage where the media is trailing society, society is ahead of the media, then why do we need the media?
Right. Society ahead of the media in what way?
I mean, if IBC has results and the media doesn't have it.
Well, I think the media has to really search its soul, and ask, was it actually prepared to do this election, And there's nothing wrong with saying, all right, we missed this and this and this, and the next one we're going to learn lessons, But I think that there's too much for me of a coincidence that we don't have right now an independent tallies. You're going with the IEBC numbers.
What I expected is...
But were we in any way cowed not to call the election, Charles?
I expected you to know that there are 290 constituencies. I expected Nation Media Group or whichever station to say, now we are going to our report on this polling station. Tell us what are the figures there. Move from there to the next polling station. The reporter should be able to tell you what they have declared in Nairobi, they have not declared here. That is the kind of recovery that we expected, because we knew the presidential results are going to be declared at the constituencies. And Nation says you had reporters in those 290 constituencies. So why was it so hard for Nairobi to call, say, Suna East constituency and ask, what are the results there? And
if indeed whatever the results were declared are confirmed by the 290 staffers that have been sent across the country, and if indeed the figure remains what was announced at the National Tallying Center, you would be content with that?
I think that would be okay.
All right. The numbers are still continuing, right? What we count, Charles, I just really need to get this out in terms of calling out.
I think it is still an issue of capacity.
Okay.
If we had the might, really, it should have been possible to have people everywhere. I had some media houses had people everywhere. And even at this late stage, it is still possible to then assign them tomorrow and say, tomorrow, by end of day, give us the numbers from your constituency, and then let's do the tally. Okay. It will take another 1 day, and we should be able to get proper results. But definitely, I don't think there was any systematic influencing of how the election is covered or how the results are released.
Okay, let's get to another issue, numbers still, but this is the unfortunate number of those who are reported dead, and at least this was an argument again in your article, Gadara, and has been the case for many. There are different numbers there. NASA saying, at least based on the last presser, that 100 people, including 10 children, have been killed, and the reason the bodies are not being seen is that the authorities are putting them in body bags and hiding them. There's some NGOs putting the number at just above 20. The authorities, at least the police, have said it's at 9. And where are we in this whole story of declaring those who have been killed in terms of confirming?
From the 2008 post-election violence, I remember for a long time the politicians in Kericho were saying there are hundreds of youth who are arrested in the demonstrations and they are being held somewhere. And that story went on, and they were asked, do you know any relative who can say that my child is missing or my husband is missing? And in the end, it all turned out to be fiction. Now, in this case, people have died, but the numbers is what we cannot seem to agree upon. The police, I think the government initially said 0, which was not true. I think the more accurate figure is around between 6 and 9. But NGOs said they have 24 missing people killed. And NASA, I think, said 100 people killed. Now, the one for NASA, I think, was a gross exaggeration. But, you know, I found out when we were looking for these bodies that actually, did you know that in Nairobi, when somebody dies, the body is taken to city mortuary? Not to Chiromo, not to wherever, it is taken to city mortuary. And if, God forbid, you lost a relative and wanted to take them somewhere else, the paperwork is still done at city mortuary. So that's the right place to look.
One of the sources
and so when
says
and foreign journalists went to Kisumu, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga to look for bodies in the mortuary, and they found that in the last several days there were 3 bodies that had arrived there. And one of them, they said, was a victim of mob justice and so on. We don't know. Maybe somebody was killed and then, you know, they came and wrote an issue of mob justice.
Right.
But personally, unless, you know, you have people coming to say that my child is missing, or somebody has filed a complaint about a missing person, I don't believe the issue of that bodies have been stuck in body bags somewhere, which are not in a mortuary anywhere, and are being kept somewhere. You know, I think it's just a lot of conspiracy.
Yes.
And we still need to work and get real facts and actual figures. And apart from the 9 or so that have been confirmed, this issue of saying hundreds or 24 that the NGOs have been talking about, really, I don't think is realistic.
Let's be fair. It is the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, which is a constitutional commission. It's not NGO. And they say that they have verified at least 24 people. You know, it might be more. That's what they say. And they say that they have spoken to relatives, you know, and stuff. They found people who were shot, etc. You know, that's what they say. You know, I'm not saying that it is.
And just to cut you, sorry, as you continue,
so
we did call them and ask them to give us that list of verified, and they did not have it.
Okay.
So
well, that's what they say. And I'm glad that you're actually checking up and following up. But my point had been, even from before, the protest, if you remember, started even before the announcement was made. And for much of our press, you know, they simply blacked it out. You know,
in the name of peace, this is the argument.
Exactly. You know, and I think, I mean, I can understand it as a carryover from 2008, and I think the media took the wrong lesson from 2008, where they thought that it was the reporting that drove the violence rather than the incitement. You know, and there's a difference. It's not the truth that's the problem.
It wasn't enough to see some crews in the various like areas that have been reported. Many, not just NTV, credit to all, as much as they could. They were live in Kibera, they were live in Mathare, and showing what was happening. Of course, they couldn't gain much access. No,
actually, this was after the yes, declaration.
Yes.
I'm saying the protests had started before. You remember in Kondele, it was happening in Mathare as well. How did you know? All this was, it was actually international press that was covering
Some
it.
say
Which was the funny thing.
Social media and WhatsApp and what have you.
It was the funny thing that you'd go to the Al Jazeera site and you see these pictures.
They reported 2 people dead.
Of guys doing a march or whatever, demo in Mathare that our guys aren't covering. In fact, the Star, and this was the exception I did in my article, I acknowledge the Star did actually report it. You know, the rest of the press blacked it out. It was this idea again that it is the reporting that's problematic. You know, it is not. Actually, it is your job as media to establish what the actual truth is. You know, all these numbers that are being bandied about, you know, and I'm glad that you guys are following and checking up on those. You know, but it's not by ignoring the fact that those protests are happening.
You've made your point. Is there an attempt, a blanket attempt to?
I absolutely reject this insinuation that there's some conspiracy to cover up protests or demonstrations or any.
Why weren't they being reported then?
Because you only report facts.
The dispute is people are sending each other videos and even calling each other from the slums. Listen,
we saw but then I was not even in the newsroom over the whole weekend. After that, I took a break, so I was now a consumer.
And we're talking the period before the announcement.
I was not a consumer of news. I saw those AP and Al Jazeera reports where a few people marching and making noise is reported as
Kenya ban.
Kenya is banning. Somebody puts burns a tire on the street. He's protesting, yes, but you say Kenya is banning, and it makes for a dramatic picture. But the reality is that Kenya is not banning.
I don't think that's what I'm saying.
And those reports were completely inaccurate. Now, I was one of those people at home on Saturday and seeing a lot of things on social media, or now that troubles have broken out. And I did raise an issue on Facebook. Why are we watching cartoons on NTV and all our other radio, all our other TV stations, yet the country is in trouble? And I took a lot of backlash for that. Okay, but eventually they started reporting.
They did.
But listen, a lot of the reports which were streaming in, particularly online, were completely fake and false and could not be verified by anybody.
I agree, and
Right.
my point is that there was a lot of disinformation. I mean, there was a whole campaign, and it was both sides.
Yeah.
So that one campaign was trying to push the narrative of there is all this chaos happening, and another was saying any report of chaos, any report of a demo is fake news.
So you're saying the media should have stepped in?
Yeah, the media should have been the one verifying this. And don't forget, I'm talking specifically, initially, on the period before the announcement was made. You know, then nobody apart from the Star was actually reporting that these demos were going. And you guys actually said, what was it? You gave a number of 5 people who had been killed. You know, it was there, it was happening. You know, but it was ignored by you guys. Then you say after the election, it continued. Yes, obviously. You know, and they did for a period not report it. I mean, I would say for a nation. I remember NTV on the night of the announcement. You know, Larry Madowo came up and said, this is happening, you know, we are getting these reports, etc. You know, but as you say, after that, we are watching cartoons, we are watching music, you know, etc.
So you felt like those
and,
form of... I need Dennis to weigh in on this also, because, yeah, he's been quite silent.
Yeah, Mark, we were concerned at the initial silence of the media, the local media, about the disturbances that were taking place across the country. Eventually, you moved in, which was okay. You began to trying to go live here and there. I know it was risky. We appreciate that you took those steps. But there is something that really disturbs me. This thing of the media getting information from other institutions. Institutions or the country are supposed to be getting information from the media. So this thing of the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights has the information and the media doesn't have it. It's disturbing. I mean, the agenda setting role is being lost.
The Red Cross?
It's fine. You can cross-check what you have with the Red Cross. But this thing of saying, we are reporting this because the government has said only 10 people are dead. It's very disturbing. We are going back to the early days of KBC.
I don't think that is the way things are being done.
That is the way it's happening.
No.
Let him finish.
You are telling us that we probably don't need all this big infrastructure of the media. We probably just need the Minister of Interior to sit there, call a press conference, and tell us what is going on in the country. And that is not what we protect the media for. That is not what Kenyans expect of the media.
Right.
Let me tell you,
then Charles.
It's not easy to cover some of these things. And one of the things any responsible media should focus on, you will get all kinds of reports, but they must be verified. So we cannot take we will get numbers from the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, on the Red Cross, from the local DO at the local level, from the Minister of Interior, from the Commissioner of Police, even from NASA. But it does not mean that we take any of those figures as correct, because all of them might have their own spin. Some will have their reason to suppress the numbers, others will have the reason to inflate the numbers. I'm no longer a nation, I don't even speak for them. But I know nation used to have a policy that even if you're told 10 people have died here, don't tell us until you have counted them for yourself, seen the bodies, either on the ground or in the mortuary.
I just quickly,
and that is the policy up to today.
Yeah, but I just quickly interject to point out that that is the same argument I was making about the election
tally
results.
on the election results.
You know, that you don't just take the IEBC's word for it.
No, don't. It's not the same, because election numbers come from IBC. Unless you're going to, unless you want to actually count the
That's
vote.
the same as saying the death figures
Listen,
come from.
no.
Okay,
You're not
that's
listening.
another
You are not listening.
Or the morgue.
Even those numbers you are saying you want, the ones which are going to be at the polling station.
From IBC.
You have not counted the vote yourself.
No, but those are the official numbers. It's not what they're saying over here.
Unless you have determined that these other ones are fake.
So how would you determine? We don't know what
I think now this is getting ridiculous.
As you close on this issue, because he says it's getting ridiculous, but it's a grave matter. And the story could be told even through one life. And that is the unfortunate one, especially that has got a lot of attention, of the 6-month-old baby who passed on. And this story has been told to show the gravity of the matter.
Right.
So in essence, because this is a continuing story in terms of details coming out, what would you like to see the media do?
Well, I'd like the media to be
close?
Much more proactive in establishing what's happening. I'll give an example. Yesterday, there was all this, actually last night, there was lots of reports coming out.
From Madare.
Madare,
yes.
Kibera, whatever. I myself, I live next to Kibera and I heard gunshots, and I put that out. I said, I'm hearing gunshots from this place. And other guys were saying they're hearing it from all over. And what I was expecting is in the morning to get a bit of clarity, from the media explaining this is what was cutting, this was what was happening, But till today, it's still a bit of a gray area because KTN had an interview with people in Mathare who were saying this was happening to us. And then you've got what's it called, the Red Cross saying, well, nothing was going on, etc. So I would want the media to put itself in the space where it becomes the authority, it becomes the place we go to actually establish what the facts are. Not to be sort of playing this he said, she said game, which I think a lot of the coverage has become. It's simply if I quote him and I quote him, somehow I've done my job. It's actually to establish what the truth is, so that we can all have a basic set of facts that we can base a national conversation on. I think that's the role of the press. Not really just to report what other people are saying.
All right. Yeah. And as well as the numbers to continue. Bwana Kirich, has there been an attempt in the defense of media or admitting the same, or to cover up the gravity of the situation and give a picture of things are good, peace be still? Would you say in the approach that we've had?
No. Things are maybe not good, but things are also not as bad as, they could have been under the circumstances. The demos happened. I think everything should be put into perspective and covered in scale. Yes, we did cover some demos, but at the same time, when the TV people would eventually go in, because the TV is what actually gives you a feel of what's going on. And then you find that indeed there are 5 tires burning and 20 people dancing around it. It's unfair to say that Kenya is burning based on that. And I think the international media, which normally comes here with prepared scripts, so that they say Odinga 72 running against, they already have scripts ready so that you just fill in. That's the kind of story that they want. And I'm not saying that the local media should bury its head in the sand and pretend that nothing is happening. But at the same time, if there are demos in 3 locations in Kenya, they should be covered. But it doesn't mean that the whole country has come to a standstill.
Obviously, you need to tell the story in context.
Right.
Yeah, so that exaggeration is a bit dangerous. But at the same time, they say bad news is good news. So unfortunately, maybe if that is happening, then you should drop all the things that are going on smoothly in Nakuru and go and look for that demo that is going on.
Right.
But in my view, I think the media did a lot of that. A lot of what we watched, was there. And the panels that I spoke about earlier, had people actually, ventilating on many issues and talking about the demonstrations that are going on and the issues of Form 34A and so on. So that if somebody had not even watched a news bulletin, just by listening to that, you will get a whole, a rounded picture of everything that was happening.
Right.
So I think the issue of numbers, like I said, is not complete. Probably the media could have been better prepared. I don't know, because, you know, before the elections come, there are a lot of planning meetings, strategy meetings, who is in charge of what, media houses set up election desks and so on. But in the end, you still find some shortcomings. So it doesn't mean that because you have those shortcomings, therefore pack up and go. You've been overtaken by society, as Dennis says, you're irrelevant. Of course, social media has come in, and probably because of the fake news they are churning out continuously, then people then need to go back to the mainstream media to give them the truth, because that is the responsibility of the media.
All right.
The fake news issue is becoming a problem, and I think probably after all this election issue has died down, we as a country need to have a conversation about where we are going with social media. It's not for us to try and control social media, but you know, at some point it reaches a stage where you think, okay, so all these things. I've just seen a fake front page of The Nation. I had a problem myself last week where somebody produced a newspaper which was, I think, trying to make the journalist Muhammad Ali lose his seat. So he says they make, you know, take a copy of the Star with a mast and so on, and then put a headline saying, "I will work with Uhuru. Keep off Nyali," where Ali tells Raila. You know, it's just a political game that people are playing. But, you know, don't do it at our expense. I think there's an issue of copyright there. We should file complaints. We should find who these people are that are making false newspapers to try and discredit their colleagues. But all in all, as the social media begins to show its true face, then the responsibility of the media becomes even more pronounced, that it is now up to you to clarify. And when somebody says something false and attributes it to The Nation, I think it is the responsibility of every media to counter and correct every fake news that goes out. Don't say, you know, it's The Nation. Why do I care? You know, tomorrow it's going to be you, and it's everybody's responsibility, media's responsibility, to put out the truth.
All right. On that point, Dennis, your closing remarks in terms of what you'd like to see in the days to come, and does the stand of NASA still hold that people should not buy the Daily Nation and watch NTV?
Mark, you're really campaigning
and watch NTV, which he's on, and I appreciate. Which is, I just need to get a clarification on this.
Mark, I recognize that the NTV has done quite some good reporting. In fact, I think it was caught in the crossfires. I don't think it really belonged there. But I must be bold enough and tell you that we have serious issues with the Daily Nation as a newspaper. That I'm not going to lie about.
Okay, you've made your point clear.
But I also want to ask the media to extricate itself from the government, from the state. The media needs to know that Kenyan expect more than getting from them what the state has to say. And the media has to get off this peace gospel. I don't agree, as a journalist, that it is the work of the media to keep the peace. And I don't think you keep peace by refusing to tell people the truth. If a place is burning, you don't save it by refusing to say it is burning. So let the media play its role, let the state play its role, let people meet somewhere down the lane. It is not up to the media to save society.
A quick one.
Since you're about to wind up this issue,
we're winding
the show, yes, let me actually, there is something I checked up. You know, there was an incident where a journalist was wearing a body armor and bulletproof vests. And,
in fact, we have it,
and
helmet and so on. It,
and he was arrested and then given a police bail. And, you know, people said, what is wrong with wearing this bulletproof vest? We are journalists. And, you know, I actually asked myself, is it illegal to have a
protective gear
vest? And I actually did check. And for the information of those who are not aware, you know, there is actually, you know, the Security Laws Amendment Act of 2014. It does place bulletproof vest among the things that you need a license for. And I think
it's grouped together with firearms and ammunition.
Yes, and so you cannot say that because we are media,
he had his license. That's what he said.
He had his license, just not with them at the station.
Right.
Or do they actually have a license?
Right. Yeah,
they do.
They do.
But I think that's a law really that should be repealed. It doesn't make any sense.
For the protection of some.
Okay,
but Dennis didn't finish his point.
Okay,
just to be fair. And where should journalists come tomorrow for the big announcement from Raila? You're the head of communications. You should tell us.
We'll let you know that.
Okay.
We certainly have that announcement, and we'll let you know.
Is Nation banned from attending that?
No, Nation is not banned.
Actually, because you're winding up, I've got to make a quick point.
Quick.
That I think one of the things we need to really consider, and it's just jumping off what Dennis said, is the co-option of the media by both the state and the commercial interests. You know, the fact that even as Dennis Galava himself admitted, the sort of commercialization, as he puts it,
yes,
of news. Why we can't get a negative story about Safaricom because everybody is afraid that they're going to pull their advertising, you know. Why we feel we've got to indulge the state because we need their advertising. You know, so I think those are some of the things the media need to introspect about.
All right.
You know, that where it comes to look like we've gone in from the 90s and come round, you know, and gone out in a circle, where we've ended up with which was a free press, but it's still acting almost as if it's a mouthpiece.
All right. You made your quick comment. Dennis, just finish, and then Bwana Macharia has the last word.
He asked, I've said we'll have our announcement. The nation is welcome to cover those. We have issues, we have aired them, and we'll continue airing them. But the more important thing for us, in fact, we are not saying, we never make noise. Say you didn't put Raila on page 1. Raila never complains a lot about this thing. We just need fair coverage.
Okay. Bwana Macharia, the peace gospel, I know you're not for.
I think my position on this is very well known. I reject that peace gospel. I rejected it yesterday, and I still reject it even today, even when we may be having problems. My position is that let's recognize our problems and deal with them. We're not going to solve anything by burying our heads in the sand. These are difficult times. Our elections are always so polarizing. And as media, we always find ourselves in the crossfire from both sides. And that's the thing I want to emphasize, from both sides. However much NASA may say we are on the Jubilee side, tomorrow a guy from Jubilee will come and say we are on the NASA side. And he'll give examples. And like I said, that is the nature of politicians. If you're not with them, you must be against them. Right. They don't see it any other way. And me, I say, as long as both of them are attacking us equally, it means we must be doing something right. I hope nation journalists can cover the NASA event tomorrow.
Tell Nation to open its Kisumu offices. There's no
harassment. One more thing.
Let me finish his point.
I just wanted to ask you a question. Yeah. Would you then commit that once Nation has its numbers from the constituency level, that it will publish those numbers?
You can expect it from Newsplex.
I think I can commit that.
Yes.
We have no problem. Just one final thing. There's something which amused me in the course of all this thing. Some fellows accusing the media of Githeri journalism.
Githeri man.
I was surprised even intelligent chap like
Gadara had it in his article.
To that. The thing is this: we are in politics, yes, but life does not stop. There must be room for some humor. There must be room for some sports. There must be room for some music, and for so many other things. There is absolutely, we have absolutely no apologies to make about finding a story.
But as you said yourself, if you're running cartoons when there is problems with the country, there is issues. So if you're running Githeri man, that is fine.
He was part of it as one of those.
This is what you're not running that then makes it
a small episode which comes and goes.
And I have no problem with that.
The same story, Gadara. The same story of Nyakundi who went with an oxygen mask to vote because he was very committed to this, and this is from Dandora. That was another story that also caught the attention.
Yeah, but
so it's just to appreciate how
there's no problem with those. It is when you ignore the more substantial ones. and then
But
keep
the-
running
no, no, no,
this,
no.
that I
The thing
think
is, the Githori,
we have an issue.
The Githori story did not come at the expense of anything which was more important.
well,
thought we should
the
have
more
had more-
important stuff about
in fact,
protest was not making it onto your
No, it should have- it
onto
should-
your
No,
screen.
the coverage,
That was my
the
point.
coverage
It should
definitely
have had more time,
continues.
in fact.
The coverage definitely continues, and this talk of Githeri gets me a bit hungry. I hope I can get some at home when I get there. Gentlemen, thank you. Asharia Gaido, Dennis Onyango, thank you for coming on, and Bona Charles Kerich. And we can thank Raphael Tuju for not coming. But you're welcome, sir, to the next episode and many other episodes that we will have here. And Patrick Gadara, thank you for your time. And thank you for your honest views, your candid views on how the media performed. It doesn't stop here. It definitely continues for the days to come and even months. These issues do not stop. My name is Mark Masai on behalf of the team that you don't get to see. Okay, one is on Instagram right now, but yes, that signals we should be going home. Thank you for watching.